As humans, I'm pretty sure all of us want to feel healthier and happier on a day-to-day basis. I mean, who wouldn't want to feel those things? However, after today's video, I can promise you that you will feel very differently about feeling healthier and happier. Hi there, I'm Jessica. I'm a holistic nutritionist and a mom. And here on my channel, we focus on all things mom life, but everything we do here in my space does have a bit of a healthy twist. So I'm going to be sharing 10 ways that you can feel healthier and happier starting today. So my first tip, I'm sure this is on most people's New Year's resolution list, and that is to drink more water. Staying hydrated is extremely important from a cognitive perspective in order to be clear and sharp, but also from a hunger perspective as well. Most of us are walking around highly dehydrated, and with that we can have hunger cravings and cues that aren't really in alignment with what our body actually needs. So if we can stay hydrated, we can definitely help our bodies feel healthier. And then from a mood perspective, if we are hydrated, we will definitely have more energy throughout the day. I know I feel my best and my happiest when I have even steady energy throughout the day. So some of my favorite tips are to start and end your day with water. You all know, if you're a subscriber of my channel, that I love to start my day with a lemon ginger tonic. I will put that recipe for you in the description box down below. I also love to end my day with herbal tea. I like to sip on herbal tea throughout the day. And then I'm a huge fan of fruit infused water. Doing different things to jazz up your water is a really great way to increase your level of hydration. Second tip is to create a morning and a nighttime routine. I view these as my anchors, and everything that happens in between can start off on the right foot with my morning routine, and or I can kind of wash the day away with my evening routine. So I think having these really strong anchors on either side of your day can, one, set you up for success by consuming water first thing in the morning or consuming water, herbal tea at the end of your day. So we're kind of like ticking off 2 boxes here with staying hydrated and our routines. Next to that, we can create some really healthy habits that build positive momentum for the day ahead. For me, it is really important to wake up before my children. I like to have my lemon ginger tonic. I like to drink my coffee, do some gratitude journaling, get a ton of work done, whether it's creative work or replying to emails. I'm just so fresh and so clear. Likewise, at the end of the day, every single night, I jump in the shower, I take a relaxing shower. Sometimes I wash my hair, sometimes it's just a quick shower. I put on my face oils, my moisturizers, I make a cup of herbal tea, I take my magnesium. There's all of these things that I have, these anchors, and they really help me feel grounded and settled. This way I know I'm in the driver's seat of my life, and honestly, it helps me just feel in control of my days. That way, regardless of what may happen outside of me, I have these beautiful routines that help me stay grounded and anchored to who I am. So my third tip is something I actually had listed for much later in the video, but I want all of you to hear this because I get asked about this question so much, and that is about clothing. So my third tip to be healthier and happier is to define your style. So whether that is with your home and your home decor or your clothing, I think it makes life extremely easy when you have a defined style and you can filter everything through that lens. It really removes a lot of the noise. It is easy to get caught up in trends, and believe you me, I have been there and I still get kind of pulled in that direction. A great example is I'm filming this 2 days before Christmas. I have on red pants, I'm feeling festive, but other than this time of year, I pretty much keep my clothing neutral. Similarly, in our home, everything is very minimal and neutral. Same with my wardrobe. The reason for this is as I've gotten older, I don't want to buy new clothes in abundance for every season to kind of keep up with the trends. And if I wear big pattern pieces on these videos and I wear them over and over again, people may one, think that all of my content is the same, or two, they're like, oh my goodness, I've seen that same shirt on her 10 times. Whereas if I keep things minimal and my clothing minimal, it makes it significantly easier to get dressed in the morning. I don't have like a capsule wardrobe because I do have quite a bit of clothing. I've tried to pare down, but I love clothing, so I have quite a bit of clothing. But what I will say is that most of my clothing items can be mixed and matched. I have different loungewear suits that are either from the same brand and they have a similar color palette. You guys know I love so much of the J. Crew loungewear. Also, I love a lot of the pieces from Club Monaco, so I have a ton of their pieces in my closet. So if I get a sweater from Club Monaco and the next year I get a different pair of pants, most of the time their color palette really blends beautifully together. Same thing with J. Crew. If I get a pair of red pants, next year if I see a different red sweater, most of the time the color palette is the same. So I do think that it's important to kind of define your style because it reduces distraction and confusion. And Kaya says I'm kind of like Steve Jobs, where like all of my clothing is just like the same and I wear the same thing over and over again. That is not the case, but it can appear that way because most of my pieces look similar and they blend really well together. Also, I like to invest in higher quality pieces and I want them to be timeless. Therefore, I can invest in these pieces. They wash and wear beautifully, and I don't feel the need and that constant itch to buy more clothes. So I was going to include that much later in the video, but I'm talking about it now because you guys asked me about my clothing. So I will link in the description box down below some of my favorite like loungewear sets, sweatsuit sets, a ton of the sweaters that I've been wearing for years on end, also some updated versions for you guys. So I will have all of that linked for you in the description box down below. My fourth tip to feel healthier and happier is to eat more leafy greens. This one will not shock any of you who are subscribers of my channel, that I am always on the quest to add in more fiber, nutrient-dense plant foods, and I'm a firm believer of including leafy greens in 2 meals per day. Now, before you click off this video and you think, how in the world am I going to make time for this when I'm hydrating at the beginning, the end of the day, I've got my morning routine, my night routine, I'm defining my style, how am I going to eat leafy greens with 2 meals per day? Well, let me make it significantly easier for you. First, you can blend up a smoothie first thing in the morning. I have a ton of videos. I will link them for you up here in the cards. Likewise, if you are a member of Living Well, they're all over the membership area. So you blend them in a smoothie. There's number one. Number two, let's say you go out to lunch or you make one of my cold salads on your weekend ingredient prep and you have that in the refrigerator. I love to have like a big black bean quinoa salad. I just simply fill my bowl up with like spring mix and put my salad on top. Slice some avocado, boom, I am done. It is now noon and I've had leafy greens with 2 meals per day. Another thing is if you're having chili or stew or a big sheet pan dinner, I simply just put leafy greens at the bottom of my bowl all of the time. It wilts things like kale. If I'm having chili, I will put kale at the bottom of my bowl and then it wilts the kale into the chili. It tastes delicious, it's extremely filling, and of course nutrient dense. So if you can eat greens more often and preferably with 2 meals per day, you will notice how much better you feel in as little as 7 to 10 days. So I know this one kind of seems like a lot and it can feel extreme, but let's go ahead and try and eat leafy greens twice a day. So now that you know you're going to be eating leafy greens at least twice a day, next, let's go ahead and make a list of our go-to meals and then a corresponding go-to grocery list. So I am well aware that it can feel extremely overwhelming wanting to eat healthier on a consistent basis. And so I'm a realist and I don't expect people to be cooking 10 different dishes all throughout the week and a variety of foods and introducing tons of new foods and new meals on a day in and day out basis. So I always say, start with what you know that you love. So if you have a few simple, healthy recipes, make a list of those recipes and then make a corresponding grocery list. That way on busy weeks when you feel uninspired, you know, one, you always have these ingredients on hand, and two, you can make them a wee bit healthier by adding greens to them. So it doesn't have to be so complicated. And I want to take out the complexity for you and provide a little bit of ease, because being healthier and thus feeling happier on a day in and day out basis shouldn't feel like a full-time job. It should feel effortless. And when you can get to that point of this lifestyle, just kind of being who you are and what you do, everything will shift and change. And that's why inside the membership area, and I know I mention it a lot, and I don't like do it to kind of give it a plug, I'm just like simply saying this from a logistical standpoint. Inside the membership area, when people join, they're always like shocked and surprised how much ease my weekly meal plan provides them. One, because they don't have to do any of the thinking. Two, they know everything is extremely nutrient dense and delicious. Everybody in your family will love all of the meals, and you don't have to worry about checking all of the little boxes that go into eating healthy. But if you're somebody who's not ready to make that type of commitment for $18 a month or $12 a month if you purchase the year, but if you're not somebody who's ready to make that commitment, just make a bulleted list of your favorite healthy meals. Know that you can always fall back on them if your week gets too crazy, because you have that list and that grocery list, and everything is already in your house and on hand. My next tip is to do weekly and monthly life reviews. I have talked about this in other videos. I will link that for you up here in the cards, but I don't like to go the entire year and then check in with myself and check in with my goals. That's something I like to do every single Sunday. Every Sunday, I like to look at my week ahead, my appointments, whether it's for work or it's for personal life. I like to know what I have on the schedule the week ahead. Then I plan accordingly with everything that needs to get done. Additionally, I take a peek at my goals. So whether it's my monthly goal, my quarterly goals, or my yearly goals, and I make sure that I schedule in teeny tiny tasks that will ladder up to me reaching these goals, instead of being shocked and surprised like 6 months in that I haven't, included an evening routine. It's something I check in with every single Sunday. And then I do a review of what's working and what's not. Maybe your morning routine isn't working. Maybe you need to adjust it. Wake up 15 minutes earlier, wake up 15 minutes later. Maybe you need to add in a workout, or maybe you've realized you don't quite have time to work out every single morning. So potentially, could you go to bed a little bit earlier, wake up a little bit earlier? When we do these check-ins and these reviews of our life, I think it's really important, because then we can course correct. Instead of like getting down the line months and months in and realizing like, something's not working. Like, let's take a look in the mirror. Let's take a look at our to-do list. Let's take a look at our goals and see what's working and what's not. And that leads me beautifully actually into my next tip, which is to evaluate our commitments. Oftentimes we have committed ourselves to things that quite simply no longer are serving us, and they don't quite fit within our new healthy and happy lifestyle. And I think it's really important to identify this. Like, you may be a part of a weekly meetup group that honestly, one, you kind of dread going to, or two, it just doesn't fit into your schedule. So maybe you can communicate to the group like, hey, I can't make it every single Friday, but I would still love to meet up every other Friday. Is that okay? Is that something that we can do? I think that it's important that we review our commitments, because, if you have that anchored meeting every single Thursday with your team, and potentially it's something that you could do via email or like a Slack communication. It doesn't need to be that Zoom meeting or that in-person meeting. Just because something has been a commitment for weeks, months, or even years, doesn't mean that it needs to continue to be a commitment. Then, likewise, if you want to see your friends more often, let's get that in the books. Let's get that on the schedule. If we can add that commitment into your day, if we've done our life review, our month review, our week review, and we see we've got a little bit of flexibility, and you maybe want to do brunch with your girlfriends, or add in a facial, or add in that Pilates or bar class, this is a beautiful time to do so. But just because you have a commitment doesn't mean it needs to stay a commitment forever. Also, just because you're not committed to something currently doesn't mean that you can't enhance your life by adding these things in. So my next habit is something I started in the spring, and boy, oh boy, does it make a difference. It's been pretty darn cold here and I haven't like mustered up the courage yet to get outside and move around. But in the spring and in the summer, I was forcing myself that in between meetings or before I would go pick up the kids from school, instead of taking a social media break, I was taking a movement break. You guys know I got the Aura ring in the beginning of 2022, and it has been unbelievable for me to track my sleep. That's the original reason I purchased it. But more than anything, for me to be aware of my movement. I had an entire goal set for myself that in 2022, I wanted to hit 10,000 steps per day. And I am so happy to say that probably 360 days of the year, I did absolutely do that. And most days, it was closer to like 14 to 16 to 17,000 steps per day. Now, I will say much of that was because of this habit, and that is to take a movement break instead of taking a social media break. I would go out on a walk and listen to a podcast or an audio book, but I wasn't going out on a walk and just scrolling on my phone. I was moving my body, and holy smokes, that did tremendous things for my physical health, for my mental health, and just for the energy in my body. Oftentimes, after being on my computer for hours, I can feel like bottled up energy is just stuck. And when I'm able to get it out, I can think more clearly, I can produce content more efficiently, I can create meal plans better, I can be more present with my family. It just changes everything. So instead of taking a social media break, I think we all pause and take a movement break instead. Touching on food again quickly with my next tip, the 9th tip, I want you to find a way to make healthy eating work for you. So we've got our go-to meals, our go-to grocery list. We're hydrating first thing in the morning, we're hydrating before bed, and then we're adding greens to at least 2 meals per day. But other than that, I want you to find ways to make healthy eating work for you. If you're somebody who doesn't love a cold salad, that's okay. You don't have to eat a cold salad. Like, that is perfectly fine. What you can do is you can take a bunch of different veggies, root veggies, cruciferous veggies, throw them in a pan, saute them up with some onions, some garlic, throw in some broth, blend it together. You have a beautiful blended veggie soup. You have that for the entire week ahead. And you've gotten your greens in there because we've thrown in some greens. So what I'm saying is, instead of getting stuck in the comparison of everybody on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and feeling like you should be where they are or you should eat the way that they eat, I want you to find your stride. I want you to find confidence in finding ways to make healthy eating work for you. And my biggest call out here is, what works for you today will evolve and change. So not to worry. I posted a video last week all about how I achieved my New Year's resolutions. And in that video, I said, like, sometimes we can feel the pressure of trying to level up and always do better than ourselves. But oftentimes we might need to scale back and slow down during different seasons. And that's not to be discouraged, because who's to say in 3 months from now, you may be ready and feel confident enough to evolve and to really take up your nutrition. So I want to meet you where you're at today. I want to start here and work our way up. We don't need to jump in line. We can just take one step at a time, put one foot in front of the other, and find a healthy routine that genuinely works for you. That way, we can indeed feel healthier and, most important, happier. My 10th and final tip is to identify areas of negativity. Whether this is the negativity in our own head or in and around ourselves with our circle of friends or family or coworkers or just people in our sphere, I want us to identify areas of negativity. Once we have an understanding of where the negativity is coming from, it's much easier to build up healthy coping mechanisms. So for example, oftentimes I can feel extremely negative with myself if I don't feel as though I'm doing my best, what I know can be my best. And where I hold myself to this standard of perfection that, to be quite honest with you, is unachievable. Like, nobody is perfect. I'm well aware of that, but I put these pressures on myself to do things in a certain capacity, to do things at a certain level, whether it's with my clients, with my content, with my family, with my children. I expect myself to be on and to be perfect at all times and to have everything together. And that is just quite simply unachievable, and I don't even know where this pressure comes from because it's not from anybody around me, it's simply from myself. So I recognize this, I journal on it a lot because it actually makes me more short fused in my business, not with my clients and not with you guys, of course, but it makes me have a shorter fuse and it makes me less tolerable to mistakes and things that happen. And honestly, it makes me have a shorter fuse when I deal with day-to-day stressors because I have this level of expectation. But when I release it, I'm like calm and peaceful and I just kind of roll with the punches. I'm so much happier, and in turn, I produce better quality work. I output better results with my clients. I'm more present with my children. So it's just, you know, a give and take situation. And I think that we need to identify these areas of negativity. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a work situation. And when we don't give the power to these situations and or people, we can come up with coping mechanisms that really help us stay calm and grounded. And or we can just take our CBD by Ned and our magnesium breakthrough from BioOptimizers before we get into these situations. I mean, these are real tools that I use. Before we get into these situations, we could take our CBD, we can take our magnesium, and we feel better equipped to handle the negativity, whether it's from our own self or somebody outside of us. I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and I know if you are watching this video when I am releasing it, we are 3 days away from the new year, and I want you guys to know how unbelievably grateful I am for each and every one of you. I feel so proud of this beautiful community that we have built, and I value your time that you spend here. Please know how much I value your time, and I hope that you feel inspired. I hope that you feel encouraged, and I cannot wait to spend 2023 with each of you, and we have some incredible content coming your way. So I wish you all a very safe and happy new year, and I will see you in 2023. And if you liked today's video, you can let me know by giving it a big thumbs up. And now the subscribe button is right over here. Give that a click. That way you don't miss a single video, and I will see you in the new year.